Welcome to this episode, The Legacy Builder, the show dedicated to charting a course from ambition to lasting success. I'm your host, Davidson, and today we're cutting through the noise to talk about a hard truth: sacrifice is the currency of success. If you want a life of abundance, a life of impact, you have to be ready to surrender a season of your life to the grind. This isn't just motivational fluff. This is about a pattern, a cycle that has played out across countless families and generations, a cycle you absolutely have to understand if you want your hard work to truly last. The idea is simple, but its implications are massive. You want success, you have to sacrifice a season somewhere along the way, doing things that you don't necessarily want to do to create the life you desire. There's going to be a sacrifice somewhere there. Think about the first generation, the original entrepreneur, the immigrant, the person who started from scratch. They are the builders. They put in the long hours, they missed the ball games, they went to bed early and woke up before dawn. They were laying the foundation for everything. Their focus was singular: to acquire, to establish, to build wealth. Now, what happens normally is that the kids of the parents who do that, the second generation, they watch the sacrifice that was made. They see the long days, they see the early mornings, they see that dad or mom didn't come home until late, and they witness the struggle. So much so that they respect the money they receive. They respect the legacy because they know the cost of the bricks. This second generation is the protector. One generation builds it, the second generation sees the sacrifice. They inherit the wealth, but they also inherit the discipline. They hold on to it. They respect it. They aim to protect the legacy and maybe even grow it carefully. But then we get to the third generation, the grandchildren. The generation that didn't watch the grandparents do nothing. They didn't see the struggle. They inherited the comfort. They grew up believing that success is the default setting. They just think money grows on trees, and they just throw it all over the place. They didn't pay the price, so they don't value the prize. They end up spending it all. The legacy is squandered. And that, my friends, is the typical cycle that America, and frankly, many successful societies, have seen play out over and over: the builder, the protector, and the spender. The cycle where wealth, discipline, and success are typically lost by the third generation. It's the shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations phenomenon. But here's the good news. That cycle is not an inevitable fate. It is merely a pattern that can be broken. The only way to break that cycle, the only way to ensure that your sacrifice lasts for 4, 5, or 6 generations is through knowledge and skill. Look, the first generation, they build wealth, but the wealth is brittle. It can be spent, it can be lost to a bad investment or a lavish lifestyle. The true, unbreakable, transferable asset is not the money itself, but the wisdom and the competence to create it again and again. If you are the builder, you have to do more than just build a business or save a bank account. You have to build a curriculum. You must teach your children, it's the second generation, not just what you own, but how you acquired it. You have to pass on the skill of creation, the knowledge of investment, and the deep, visceral understanding of delayed gratification. The second generation, the protector, their primary job is not just to maintain the money, but to internalize the methods. They must treat that wealth as a resource for learning and growth, not just consumption. They need to turn the family business into a training ground for the third generation. When the third generation, the one that traditionally spends it all, is instead armed with knowledge and skill, they can't break the legacy. Because even if they blow the money, they possess the ability to create more. You can't spend a skill. You can't liquidate wisdom. So, where do you stand in this cycle? Number 1, if you're the builder, the first generation, your sacrifice is necessary. But don't forget the lesson plan. You're building a foundation of resources, but you must also build a foundation of wisdom. Number 2, if you're the protector, the second generation, you saw the sacrifice. Respect it. But don't just protect the principle. Use it to expand the family's intellectual capital. Become a teacher. Number 3, and if you are the third generation, or perhaps the fourth, and you're thinking, I didn't see the struggle, then congratulations. You have the ultimate starting line. But your job is the toughest. You must actively seek out the knowledge, the skill, and the discipline that was born of a struggle you never personally experienced. You must choose to be a builder, not a spender. The ultimate sacrifice is not the time you spend working, it's the wisdom you neglect to pass on. Break the cycle. Choose knowledge, choose skill. Choose to be a multi-generational legacy. Now, if this episode resonated with you, if you feel that fire to become a builder or a protector of lasting success, then I have two things to ask of you. First, I want you to subscribe to the Legacy Builder right now. Tap that button. Every single week, we're bringing you the strategies, the mindset, and the actionable advice to make sure your efforts are not in vain. Subscribing is your way of investing in your own multi-generational success. Second, if you know someone else who is working hard right now, someone who is making that necessary sacrifice, or someone who is inheriting a legacy they need to protect, you have to share this episode with them. Send them the link. They need to hear this message. Let's make sure the efforts of the first generation never become the mistakes of the third. Join the conversation. What is the single biggest sacrifice you've made for your long-term success? And let me know your story.